Zagros Mountains, northern Iran. 10 in the morning. 48 U.S. Army Rangers from the 75th Ranger Regiment were advancing rapidly across rocky terrain toward a concealed mountain entrance. The entrance led to one of Iran's most critical military facilities, an underground tank production plant hidden 100 meters inside the mountain. American intelligence had been tracking this plant for 8 months. The underground facility manufactured main battle tanks using modified Russian T-90 designs. 3 assembly lines operated continuously, producing 8 complete tanks each month. At any given time, 20 tanks were in various stages of completion. The facility extended across 3 levels carved deep into the mountain. On the top floor, administrative offices and living quarters housed the 250 workers and engineers who operated the facility. This level included planning offices, engineering workshops, and dormitories where workers stayed during their shifts. Below that, the middle level contained the main production floor. 3 assembly lines stretched through the chamber, each 50 meters long. Welding stations, armor plating equipment, and engine installation bays filled the space. Overhead cranes moved components between stations. Specialized equipment included hydraulic presses for armor shaping, precision welding robots for turret assembly, and engine testing bays. At the lowest level, the testing chamber allowed completed tanks to conduct trials before delivery to Iranian armored units. This underground space featured a circular track where tanks demonstrated maneuverability and firing positions where main guns were test-fired into armored backstops. To reach the facility, access came through 2 reinforced tunnel entrances on opposite sides of the mountain. On the western side, heavy transport trucks delivered raw materials, armor plates, engine components, and other supplies throughout the day. On the opposite side, the eastern entrance was smaller, used by workers and technical staff. Despite their different purposes, both locations had security checkpoints with armed guards and inspection procedures. Outside, Revolutionary Guard forces maintained strong defensive positions. 50 soldiers defended the western cargo entrance with checkpoints, barriers, and patrol routes. Meanwhile, 40 soldiers secured the eastern personnel entrance. Additionally, 30 soldiers conducted regular patrols around the mountain perimeter and manned observation posts on elevated positions. Inside, another 60 security personnel monitored production areas and controlled access between levels. The facility commander believed the location and security made the plant nearly impossible to attack. However, American intelligence had discovered a vulnerability through careful surveillance. Using advanced technology, thermal imaging satellites had detected an old ventilation shaft on the southern slope of the mountain. According to historical records, the shaft dated from the original construction phase, but had been sealed and abandoned when newer ventilation systems were installed. Further investigation revealed that it's still connected to the middle floor. The Iranians had never properly secured it because they considered it inaccessible. To confirm this vulnerability, 4 weeks before the operation, a reconnaissance team reached the ventilation shaft. Operating under cover of darkness, they removed debris and examined the shaft interior. As they investigated, the passage descended 40 meters through natural rock before connecting to the facility's ventilation network. From there, access points led directly onto the production floor. Before departing, the team photographed the route, measured dimensions, and verified that Rangers could navigate the passage with their equipment. This discovery provided the opening the Americans needed. For this operation, the mission was assigned to 48 Rangers organized into 4 teams with specific objectives. Alpha Team with 15 Rangers would secure the upper administrative level and prevent reinforcements from reaching the production floor. Similarly, Bravo Team with 18 Rangers would assault the middle production floor, neutralize defenders, and place demolition charges on the assembly lines and completed tanks. In addition, Charlie Team with 10 Rangers would capture the lowest testing chamber and destroy any tanks in that area. Meanwhile, Delta Team with 5 Rangers would secure the southern ventilation shaft, maintaining the infiltration route and keeping communication open. The operation required precise timing and coordinated assault. All 4 teams would infiltrate through the ventilation shaft without detection. Once positioned inside the facility, they would strike simultaneously at exactly 11 in the morning to maximize surprise and prevent any coordinated Iranian response. Hours before the assault, at 7 that morning, 3 Black Hawk helicopters had departed carrying the Rangers toward their target. Flying in formation, 3 Apache attack helicopters provided escort and fire support capability. After flying low through mountain valleys to avoid Iranian radar coverage, at 8:15 the helicopters landed 8 kilometers from the facility, in a remote valley hidden from view. Upon landing, the Rangers immediately moved out with their equipment. Each man carried weapons, ammunition, communications gear, and specialized tools for the mission. Among them, the demolition specialist carried thermite charges designed to destroy tank armor and production equipment. Behind them, 3 Apache attack helicopters and 3 Black Hawk helicopters waited at the landing zone, engines running, ready to provide extraction once the facility was destroyed. With everyone ready, the Rangers began moving through the mountain terrain. The approach took 1 hour and 40 minutes. Throughout the movement, the Rangers Rangers used natural cover provided by rocks and trees to avoid detection by Iranian patrols. At exactly 10 in the morning, they reached the abandoned ventilation shaft on the southern slope, just as the reconnaissance team had reported. The opening was hidden behind large boulders and showed no signs of Iranian security. Working quickly and silently, the Rangers removed the covering from the shaft entrance. Delta team positioned themselves at the opening, establishing security and preparing communication equipment. Meanwhile, the other three teams began descending into the shaft one by one. The passage was narrow, requiring careful movement with their equipment. As they descended deeper, the temperature increased and the sound of machinery became audible from below. After 20 minutes of careful movement through the shaft, the Rangers reached the connection point with the facility's ventilation network. Branching out from this junction, metal ductwork led toward the production areas. The air was warm and carried the smell of welding metal and machine oil. Through the ventilation grates, the sound of machinery and voices echoed from the chambers. Following their assigned routes, Alpha Team moved toward an access point near the upper-level administrative corridor. At the same time, Bravo Team positioned themselves at a ventilation grate leading to the main production floor. Through the metal slats, they could see the entire chamber spread out before them. Simultaneously, Charlie Team descended further toward the testing chamber level, navigating narrower passages that led to the lowest sections of the facility. Each team waited in position, checking their weapons and reviewing their objectives one final time. From inside the ventilation ducts, the grates provided clear views into the facility. On the production floor, Iranian workers moved between assembly lines where partially completed tanks stood on platforms. Welding sparks illuminated the space as technicians worked on armor plating. The facility was operating at full capacity, completely unaware of the American forces hidden in the ventilation system. The Rangers remained motionless, waiting for the precise moment to strike. At exactly 11, the operation began. While Delta Team remained at the ventilation shaft, providing security and communications, the other three teams removed the ventilation grates and entered the facility. Bravo Team emerged from the ventilation grates directly onto the production floor. Moving with speed and precision, 18 Rangers spread across the vast chamber. Around them, shocked workers froze as the Americans appeared from the walls. Reacting to the intrusion, the facility's guards, caught off guard, reached for weapons. Within seconds, a fierce firefight erupted across the massive production chamber. Positioned between the assembly lines and behind the partially completed tanks, the Iranian guards fought from defensive positions. However, the Rangers held the advantage of surprise and superior training. They advanced methodically across the floor, using coordinated movements to clear each section. 12 minutes into the firefight, the defenders were neutralized, and the workers surrendered. Bravo Team controlled the entire production floor. Immediately, the Rangers moved to secure the area. They gathered the workers into groups and had them sit against the walls under guard. Meanwhile, the demolition specialists began placing thermite charges on critical equipment. Working systematically, the charges were positioned on each assembly line's main machinery, on the 20 tanks in various stages of completion, and on the specialized welding and armor plating equipment that made tank production possible. At the same time on the upper level, but the Rangers employed flashbang grenades to disorient defenders before advancing. Alpha Team had emerged from their access point into the administrative corridor. The team pushed swiftly and decisively through the offices and living quarters. Attempting to stop the advance, 30 Iranian defenders attempted to hold the upper level and prevent the Rangers from advancing. Fighting erupted in the narrow corridors and stairwells. Caught in the confined spaces, the guards used the tight quarters to their advantage, but the Rangers employed flashbang grenades to disorient defenders before advancing. They cleared each room systematically, moving with practiced precision. After 15 minutes of close quarters fighting, the defenders were neutralized and Alpha Team controlled the upper level. The Rangers secured the stairwells, preventing anyone from reaching the production floor. While Alpha and Bravo Teams secured their objectives above, Charlie Team descended to the lowest testing chamber. This level was a large underground space where completed tanks conducted trials before delivery. Currently, 4 finished tanks sat in the chamber, with another 6 Iranian guards and 5 engineers present. Emerging suddenly from the ventilation system, Charlie Team entered the testing area. The sudden appearance of American forces caused immediate panic among the Iranians. The guards scrambled to respond but were quickly overwhelmed. Within 8 minutes, Charlie Team controlled the testing chamber and the engineers surrendered without resistance. Without delay, the Rangers began placing demolition charges on the 4 completed tanks. These were fully operational vehicles ready for delivery to Iranian armored units. The thermite charges were positioned on the engine compartments, ammunition storage, and main gun systems to ensure complete destruction. By 11:30, all 4 teams had secured their objectives. On the top floor, Alpha Team held the administrative area with all personnel secured. 1 level below, on the production floor, Bravo Team controlled the assembly lines with demolition charges placed on all equipment and vehicles. At the testing chamber, Charlie Team had prepared the 4 completed tanks for destruction. Outside Outside the facility, at the ventilation shaft, Delta Team maintained security on the extraction route. With all objectives secure, the extraction phase began. The team leaders coordinated through radio communication with the helicopters waiting 8 kilometers away. The aircraft immediately lifted off and began their approach to the facility. Meanwhile, the Rangers prepared for departure. On the production floor, Bravo Team conducted a final check of all demolition charges. The thermite devices were armed and ready, positioned to create maximum destruction across the assembly lines. The specialists confirmed that every critical piece of equipment, every tank under construction, and every completed vehicle would be destroyed. With everything confirmed ready, at 11:45, the order came to evacuate. All Rangers began moving back toward the ventilation shaft. They climbed through the ductwork and ascended the 40-meter shaft to the surface. Delta Team guided each Ranger out of the opening and into defensive positions around the extraction point. At 12 noon, all 48 Rangers were clear of the facility and positioned on the mountainside. The Black Hawk helicopters landed in a nearby clearing. The demolition specialists confirmed all charges were armed and verified the detonation sequence. With all personnel safe and the helicopters ready, at 12:10, the demolition order was given. All charges detonated simultaneously. The thermite charges ignited throughout the facility. On the production floor, intense heat melted through tank armor and machinery. The 20 tanks in production burned as thermite consumed their frames. Assembly line equipment collapsed. Welding stations and armor plating machinery melted beyond recognition. In the testing chamber, the 4 completed tanks were destroyed. Throughout the facility, the explosion systematically eliminated Iran's tank production capability. As the destruction continued below, the Rangers loaded onto the helicopters quickly and efficiently. The aircraft lifted off immediately and flew low through the mountain valleys. Behind them, smoke poured from both entrance tunnels as the facility continued to burn inside the mountain. The operation's results were clear. Iranian personnel losses totaled approximately 150 across all levels. On the American side, forces sustained 4 injuries during the fighting. Most importantly, the tank production facility was completely destroyed. All 24 tanks were eliminated, and the specialized equipment required for production was rendered useless.